There hasn't been much video games starring werewolves, let alone positively received ones, aside from like Wolf Among Us. And Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess if you really want to stretch the definition. The former's last episode's release year of 2014 also brought us today's subject that certainly didn't help with the genre's reputation with its 35% of positives on Steam and some scathing videos from popular agitators of the time. Be prepared to be horrified, though not for the reasons the developers intended, with Guise of the Wolf.
The game is an almost solo effort from Jake Pawlowski, to which this seems to be his video gaming debut. There's no other easily findable trivia about this game's production, though I wish for a post-mortem analysis because my god, something happened here. Equally little context is given in the game happening in the year 1681 in Hungary, I guess? Where our main character Dominic, played by Stephen Kelly, who apparently voices the rest of the male characters as well, wakes up in the midst of carnage after some attack that was too intense/expensive to be shown. What is known is that Dominic's friend, who we knew nothing about, is already dead, and then he faints next to a castle which is followed getting awakened by the Count's daughter Isabel, played by Elsie Lovelock in auto mode. Not that there was much material to work with anyway.
I've heard strange stories of beasts wandering the night, mostly from the villagers, but nothing which need concern you.
Also, yes, the graphics are not great with its pseudo cel-shade style. Pseudo in a sense that it feels like these thick black lines weren't part of the original design and were added afterwards. Why it was done this way, I'm venturing to guess that because this game happens at night and has washed out color scheme, they needed some way for players to be able to differentiate objects from the environment. And in that sense it does a pretty good job. Though pick a wrong angle and all the lines get shy and hide away from view.
So the entire game happens in this castle Lietovisko, and by researching a bit it soon becomes evident that this roaming beast is a werewolf, though like how in zombie movies people don't call the zombies the castle's Count Artemis doesn't call it.
Ah, you are awake at last. I trust our fair maiden has taken good care of you.
Damn, his voice sure struggles to sound natural in bass. I wouldn't be surprised if this was artificially lowered. Anyway, we get to know that our hapless protagonist is an alchemist specifically called to aid in thwarting the beast, and then I get to engage in a frequent pastime in this game, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. But you see, this is partially a point-and-click adventure without the point-and-click part, so you must think like a sociopathic klepto and pickpocket a key from a guard and use it to open the door to the castle's dungeon. Oh, and don't forget to pickpocket all the coins from his colleagues, you're going to need them later.
To be fair, most of the puzzles I came across weren't that obtuse, but they sure are repetitive. The main recurring example is the lockpicking one that, to its credit, is more clearer than whatever the Elder Scrolls 4 tried to pull, and searching for ingredients for various alchemical concoctions. Also, they can be repetitive, like this later tarot memorization game. But the first puzzle does give a pretty good image on the constant leaps in logic and plot holes that story has. But let's for now get to the dungeon where we meet the prisoner, only known as Finch, and I get he's supposed to be crazy, but just what is this Saturday morning performance?
I know what you are. You were bitten then, weren't you?
Soundscape in general is a reflection of the game's tonal inconsistency and feels like it was hastily cobbled together. Numerous examples include a coin sound that comes no matter what item is picked, this tagged on mousepad ambience that sounds like those creatures are right next to you, and when you get an achievement it makes this unfittingly preppy jingle. Historically though, it is interesting that the devs felt the need to do that long before Steam started to use one as a feature.
Also, the music is rather anemic and self-repeating and also ill-fitting. I mean, that track in the kitchen should be in a romance scene. Well, back to the story. Finch confirms to Dominic that he has been bitten by a werewolf and will turn into such a beast in full moon's light, which, is tonight. Well, there is some potential in this new mechanic of having to avoid the outdoor areas for too long periods of time. But it is immediately abandoned because the only time full moon's light is a problem in this game is next to the kitchen where you brew the concoction that prevents involuntary shape-shifting.
Instead, you can change into wolf form in specific spots and remain so for 40 seconds. Okay, so perhaps the game is going... Oh, that doesn't look promising. Anyway, perhaps the game is going for a power fantasy route where you get to do all cool furry fury stuff. I mean, if you can't break it doors and jumping far as such. I guess you can attack the guards, but they don't seem to pose much of a threat and are probably just doing their job, so random distraction will probably lead to a bad ending. Maybe. Most of the danger stuff Dominic encounters as a human because another werewolf is after him. But these chase sequences are not only short but also not well designed. The window to get out of the way here is so minuscule, and yes, there are traps, but they are insultingly easy to avoid. And added to that, Finch instructs to start to gather ingredients for a beast repelling potion, so that is going to remove another gameplay. Right. Fine. I get the hint game. I stop playing.
More accurately, I stopped playing after getting that same error message several times in a row in that same place, and sometimes you can get lucky and have the next area's autosave activate, but this door gave me no such mercy. I did look up how the game ends, and there's an underwhelming switch-based boss battle, kind of, and then the whole thing is wrapped anticlimactically with a drawn cutscene with no dialogue. I knew going in Guise of the Wolf that I'm not going to get anything resembling quality, but I still feel like I got ripped off.
It is no wonder the developer doesn't acknowledge this game on his LinkedIn resumes. It's buggy, ugly, has an anemic soundscape, the story progression is illogical, has unenthusiastically designed levels and puzzles, and all the potential gameplay hooks it has are not used in any sort of intriguing way. Also, this game can be completed in 2 hours if you know what you're doing, and because I didn't know, it took me about as much time to get to the point where I stopped. Overall, whatever decent idea it may have originally been, the game eventually came out all whimpering and mangled.
Even though this first commercial project turned out to be a disaster, it hasn't stopped Mr. Pavlovsky, for 3 years later he tried to kickstart a PlayStation 1 platformer homage Griff the Winged Lion. But unfortunately that project was unsuccessful, and a short demo is the only thing we have gotten from it so far. Which was pretty alright. Currently, according to his LinkedIn, he is working as a creative director in Spiral Summit Games, who have done such a rogue-like game as Black Sea Odyssey, and he has a couple of other projects like Legacy of Kain, Soul Rival fan sequel, Dark Renaissance in the making, but whenever those and numerous other projects he is involved with come out is yet to be seen. This game though, yes, 100 times yet to be included in my bottom 100 list, so Fly to Freedom Hero. It's a freeware 2D action game that is just a clunkier and less merciful version of a superior sequel, Hero Core. If I was involved in something as bad as Guise in the Wolf, would I still put it in my resume? Well, I did put that porn game that I made for a school project, so might as well.
Helps to have a map. Good evening, me lord. Oi! What do you think you're doing? Helps to have a